you always have aspirations to want to do more and be bigger and just be successful. But sometimes you get little voices that tell you, no, it's going to be too hard. The way to get around that is just really having a good network of people that care about you. Well, that was a big fear that I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this on my own. But then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this on my own. I got other people out there that are willing to help me.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled show. This is a show about people who were successful in an earlier career and left to follow a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we have John Rubino. John, we're so thankful you're able to join us. And let me hand it over to you, Bill.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, welcome to the Road Less Traveled show, John. Appreciate you being on with us today.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's an honor. I appreciate it. It's looking forward to it. I was excited about it and looking to have a great discussion with you both and maybe give your listeners a little info here and there as well.
That's great. Yeah. Well, John, can you tell us a little bit about your former career and how many years you were on that path?
Sure. So I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I graduated college a long time ago and I had a lot more hair in my head. So back in 1997, and I received a third mate's license in the Merchant Marine, my business degree, and a commission in the United States Navy, which I jumped on. And I was selected for aviation training down at Pensacola Beach, Florida. So I jumped on that train and went down to Pensacola for about 8 weeks, and I got probably the shock of my life. I was in the best shape of my life. And it was shortly after that, I was on my way to Corpus Christi, Texas to be a student and learn how to fly an airplane, which I thought was pretty neat. And so I was in Corpus Christi, Texas for 2 years. And in May of 1999, I received my wings of gold as a Navy pilot. And then they shipped me off to Jacksonville, Florida, where I was for 4 years. I know the video shows there the airplanes I flew, the aircraft I flew in the Navy. The big one there on the top, the P-3 Orion, was the fleet aircraft I flew for about 11 years of my career, 20 of the 20 years I was in. And I also had the opportunity to serve overseas for a few years in Naples, Italy. I was stationed in Southern Maryland, where I found my real estate kind of niche and got excited there. And then I ended up back in Corpus from 2009 to 2011 as an instructor pilot, the same squadron I was a student at, which was pretty fun. Mm-hmm. And then got back to DC in 2011. I worked for the Navy headquarters staff for about 5 years. And during that time, I started my business, which we'll talk about, I guess, here in a sec. And then I retired from active duty service in 2017 after 20 years. And now I live here with my family, my wife of 19 years and my 4 children, my daughter Lauren and my 3 boys. And I've been running the company and doing some odds and ends there, because, when you're in real estate, there's a lot to do and there's a lot of opportunity. So, I manage and operate the company full time with a few other things on the side, but having fun and staying above the line here and doing the best we can with what we got. And the business is great and enjoying what I do.
Well, great. Well, first of all, John, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
20 years. Absolutely.
Thank you. Great. Appreciate it. Honor to serve.
Yeah, great. Well, speaking of that, as we segued into that, what career path are you on now? Have you transitioned once you came out of the Navy? And
yes. So back in 2005 timeframe, I was stationed in Southern Maryland, Patuxent River, Maryland, and I found real estate through a very close friend of mine who's still a mentor and actually a business partner I work with quite often. And he kind of got me involved in it, and I got excited, and I started to get involved as an active investor. I started looking at building new homes with some local area home builders, which went really well. And this was probably, right before, like I said, 05, 06, before the Great Recession. So I got in at the right time. It was a good market, a lot of growth. The Navy was moving a large component of their acquisition commands down in that area, and everybody came with them: Raytheon, Boeing, Lockheed Martin. So the area was growing, and when areas grow, what do people need? They need housing. So we found a great builder, got involved in that and enjoyed it. Then I took some of my money from my investments and some of the money's on the proceeds on the sale of my home there. And I turned it over to this gentleman that got me started, because I said, hey, you got me involved in this and I did real well. So let me help you as you grow your business. And he got out of the Navy at that time and I stayed in, and I passively invested with him for about 7 years, was earning about 10% of my money. And I was really learning the passive side of the business. I was learning about pro formas, costs, demographics, locations, markets, all these things that, again, gave me this wealth of information. And also I was getting a return on my investment. So it was a kind of a double win right there. When I got back to DC after my tour in Corpus Christi, Texas, I thought to myself, hey, I'm going to be retiring here in about 5 years. What do I want to do when I grow up? And, everybody around this area here in our neck of the woods typically jumps back in and they go to their last day in the office in a uniform. And then the next day they go back into the office for the next 15 to 20 years in a suit and tie. Mm-hmm. So they become government contractors, beltway bandits, and they work for the government. I wanted a break. I wanted to kind of try the entrepreneurial route. I got involved heavily in this area and started meeting some wonderful people that I networked with and grew a great network of people, and decided to stand my business up in 2013 with my accountant at the time, who's now my business partner and CFO. And we stood up the company as a syndication company, as a passive investment company that pools our money together with first friends and family, but now public and accredited investors that, we're at 165 investors that partner with us. And we invest on a project by project basis on the other side of the coin of the business, which is our sponsors and our active developers who are out there finding property and who need limited partners or co-GPs to join them and to be part of their partnerships.
Cool.
Great. Yeah.
Cool. So John, it's interesting you mentioned, and I certainly see that how awesome that would be to go back and be an instructor where you were a student. My daughter is the same thing. She attended a private school and is now, years later, the middle school art teacher at the same school.
Oh, wow.
And, it was her first day. She was kind of like, there were a bunch of her former teachers going, oh my God. Oh my gosh, my student is now a colleague. How weird is that?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I remember the first time I went back into the simulator as an instructor, and there was probably, I would say, about 60% of the instructors that were there when I was a student were there when I was an instructor. And it was unbelievable because a lot of these guys are retired military, retired Navy. And here I am. Hey, Mr. Cook, how you doing? I remember when I flew with you back as a student. And he's like, hey, John, so it was great. Just, connecting with those guys. It was a lot of fun.
Right. So John, as you think back from your military career, was there something along the way, a humorous story that, kind of made you scratch your head and go, oh boy, I got to make a change. Something needs to, I got to do something different.
So as a Navy pilot, there's so many funny stories, mostly at my expense. I guess one of the best ones would be, I think, when I was as an instructor, I was a department head. So it was kind of, a lieutenant commander, major in the Navy. And we had a lot of funny lieutenants or captains that used to play a lot of jokes. So I came into a brief one morning pretty early at about 5 a.m. for a brief with my student to go fly. And I couldn't find my wallet. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I do with my wallet? So I go over to my desk and I see a little Post-it note on there that says, if you lost something valuable, look for it somewhere that's cold. And I'm like, oh man, these guys got me. So I'm going crazy looking for my wallet. And I go into the ward room, which is kind of like where all the officers hang out and, told stories and had fun on a Friday afternoon and just chatted about the week. And I opened up the freezer and there's my wallet and a big block of ice just sitting in there. And I just, and just another note in there that said, we got you. And I just started shaking my head. So here comes my student getting ready to pre-flight. I'm in the sink trying to melt my wallet with hot water. And I'm just shaking my head saying, man, this guy's got me good. So that's probably one of the funnier ones at my expense.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was waterproof instead of leather.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Nothing really too valuable in there.
Yeah.
Well, assuming that wasn't the reason you decided to change career paths. What was the deciding factor, John, when you came, like said, to that inflection point, like either come back as a civilian contractor or a branch off the entrepreneur? Is it just you always had a kind of a yearning or wanted to see what you could do with your own business, or what kind of was the deciding factor?
Yeah, Bill, I mean, that's a good question. I think there was a lot of different things that I thought about. One was, the entrepreneurial spirit's been in my family my whole life. My dad owned his own construction business. My mom comes from a big family with 7 brothers. All of them were entrepreneurs, grocery store owners, so I guess I had it in my blood. I love the military, but I found as you got higher and higher in the kind of headquarters structure, it got harder and harder to make decisions. And, it'd be frustrating being part of a lot of discussions and meetings and kind of presentations, and you're not able to make some key decisions. You're just there to provide the information and then just sit back and let the smarter people do it. And that's fine. So I wanted to just take on the kind of the responsibility, and I really enjoyed being that passive investor. And, I'm a faith-based guy. I feel the Lord puts things in your path for a reason. And I wanted to take that model I had from when I was doing it passively, and I wanted to make that a business where I could bring it to other people in my network, friends and family, people that would have interest in real estate. And I love people. I love talking to people. I love getting to know people. I love helping people. One of my favorite books is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think that's the Bible when it comes to business and just how to treat people in life. And so I really enjoyed being around folks, helping them. And then in turn, if you help someone, they're going to go out of the way to help you. Not that being the goal, but at the same time. So I really enjoyed that portion. And when I saw that this could be something successful, unique, competitive, I said to myself, I got something pretty good here that I think I could provide to folks. And over the last, 8 years we've been in business, we've funded 25 projects, 8 of which are active right now. We've invested over $28 million. We've got 165 investors. We're investing on very large scale projects, very complex projects. And I got people around me that want us to be successful, and we have the right team around us that helps us to be successful. So it's given me the confidence. It's given me the strength to go out and have fun to do this full time. And we've had a good run and we've learned a lot. I'm sure we're going to learn a ton more. But we feel we have a good model in place and a good strategy to be successful.
Yeah, helping people is what we're about as well. I mean, that's why we do this podcast. That's why we run 2 monthly meetings where we are helping other people learn about investing, learn about real estate, learn about passive investing, et cetera. And I mean, I think Zig Ziglar said, you can get everything out of life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want out of life. Something like that.
Amen. Smart man. Of course he is.
Yeah, absolutely. So John, as you were transitioning, did you encounter some obstacles along the way?
Yeah. I mean, look, I was listening to a podcast earlier today that was just amazing. The guy on there was fantastic. And one of the things that resonated with me really well is that, you always have aspirations to want to do more and be bigger and just be successful. But sometimes you get little voices that tell you, no, it's going to be too hard. No, you don't have the right people around you. No, you don't have the resources to do that. So I think, obviously when you want to own your own company and you want to go out and do something new, there's always going to be, skepticism on your part to whether or not you can do it, doubt on whether you can do it. And I think the way to get around that is just really having a good network of people that care about you first and foremost, have a relationship with you and have your best interests in mind. Because then, you really feel confident that, hey, I got this guy who's my accountant, who's now going to be my CFO. He knows how to do a tax return. He knows how to handle financials. He knows what capital gains are and income are. He knows what depreciation is, and I still understand that, but at least I know that my, the value and the things that he brings to the table help me get over the hurdle and fear of what could happen if, right? So I think, just having the right people around you as you start something new, or if you get into real estate that you can depend on. And that was a big hurdle. That was a big fear that I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this on my own. But then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this on my own. I got other people out there that are willing to help me.
Right. I think that's critical. Like you said, it's the, I forget it was Tony Robbins or somebody, the amalgamation, kind of the 5 people you hang around the most, your friends. It's not only a support group, like, you can give ideas back and forth and, success wins and, lessons you've learned along the way, but it's also, you realize, what's possible, right? You see other people doing the same thing. It's not just a theory of, well, they had to, know somebody, and see people that build up ground up businesses and been really successful at it. And it's, it just gets you thinking, I think, a lot more creative way to do things. And it's huge as far as your own personal growth and business also.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sure you gentlemen feel the same way when you're with each other working and you thrive together because you're sharing information, you're bouncing ideas off, you're getting info, you're talking about options. And it's hard to do that alone. It is. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty darn smart, but I think I'm smarter with other smart people around me.
That's right. That's my favorite motto. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I just try to find the smartest people and hang out with them.
That's right. That's right.
Well, John, what was one of the first victories you can remember along your new career path?
Yeah, I think seeing the first project we got. And I guess I had my first victory when I actively invested and watched that first home be built. And I said, wow, I did that. I didn't actually get out there and swing the hammer, but I was really in charge of putting that together and really working with the builder and making sure that came to success. And I just, must have took 1,000 pictures of that house and was just so proud to say, wow, I was able to put that together and wow, that gave me the adrenaline to continue to do this and the sustainment. And then I think with the business, really just, seeing, you always are looking ahead. What's next? What's my next milestone? But once in a while, it's nice to just stop and take a look behind you and say, wow, look at all that I've accomplished. Look at all I've done. Not to be vain filled or greedy or prideful, but just more of just a sense of accomplishment. I think the Lord gives that as a gift to us to say, hey, every once in a while, take a deep breath and recognize what you've done because of me. And it's like, wow, look what I've done. Look what I've done. So that to me is huge. And, we've had some really wonderful projects. We've had a lot of success. And, to pick one project, where we made, let's say, we were supposed to make a 40% return over a year and a half. We ended up making 80% over 3 years or 85% over 3 years. So, the numbers were just ridiculous. So that was one project we had, which was in DC, and it was just the one we knocked out of the park. And it just gives you street credit. It gives you proof of concept.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
So, John, in your new path, is there a funny story you can share?
There's so many there too with funny stories, I guess. I would say, let me think. I have to think about that one, but yeah, there's a bunch in there. I would have to think real hard on a really, really funny one, but, every day's a joke, whether I get an email from somebody that says, something and I kind of laugh at it or I see something funny in the news that is in our market that's happening that I was like, wow, I thought I saw that coming and look at that. It happened. So, I guess you kind of take a chuckle or, you get excited when you see one of your projects in the New York Times or you see something in there that, maybe you get a chuckle or you're just like, wow, holy cow, that's pretty cool. So, but yeah, I'd have to think about that one a little bit more than some of that stuff I shared there.
Probably less frozen wallets in this.
Yeah, there you go. Less frozen wallets. Yeah, my wife plays tricks on me now, so that's good because I work out of the house. So, hey, honey, what do you got going on over there? Where are my shoes?
Once you hear this podcast, give her some ideas. Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, John, where are you today on your journey, on your new career?
We've been in business for 8 years. This past April, like I said, we've had really good success. The last year and a half has been a struggle just with COVID and just what we're seeing in the environment and the economy. I think a lot of us are on pins and needles right now with what's going on in the environment, locally, nationally, internationally. I think there's a lot of things that a lot of people are keeping an eye on. We don't like volatility, and there's a lot of it out there. So just, I think we're just treading slowly. We're not trying to do too much. We want to make sure our investors are confident in our performance and our ability. We just brought on a new investment portal, which is pretty neat. So now our investors, and we've gotten such wonderful and tremendous feedback from our investors. They love it. So I'm thinking that's a good investment and they like that. And I think it'll make things a lot more efficient for the company. But we are still looking at a lot of good deals, mainly in, I would say, outside markets, like suburbia markets. We were doing a lot in DC. Now we're kind of looking at like Fairfax County, Virginia, Frederick, Maryland, Richmond. So kind of the tertiary suburban markets, just because we know a lot of people are working from home and housing is getting expensive and we know interest rates are going to go up. So maybe getting into those assets you guys are doing, like multifamily residential and industrial and mobile home parks, those are big ones right now. So we want to definitely jump on that while it's good. and then just be prepared to go back to maybe the opportunistic deals we've done in the past, because we know that the cycle is going to shift again.
Right.
Of course. Sure.
Have you seen any uptick, like in investors reaching out to you, kind of concerned about what's happening? Like, so they talked about in the economy with all the stimulus money and the trillions being printed, with wanting to actually get into some hard assets like real estate.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of my investors are friends of my kids and my kids' parents, so like I see them at the pool or I see them at a barbecue, and they're my investors, and, they have access to me just like any one of my 165 investors do. But yeah, I mean, I think, Bill, to answer your question, there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of definitely scary things out there right now. And I think a lot of people are unsure of how to pivot. We just got this $1 trillion infrastructure bill passed before I jumped on with you. I was reading about that. And now the government's right behind that with another $3.5 trillion. So, what is that going to do to inflation? What's that going to do to interest rates? What's that going to do to the housing market? What's that going to do to the economy? So there's a lot of challenges out there right now, but I think there's also a lot of opportunity. I think my focus is I'm trying to be a sniper shooter instead of a shotgun shooter. I'm looking at specific markets, specific asset classes, and things that I know that I'm good at, and I still see opportunity. Like in the Southeast, where Richard's formerly from, in Atlanta. I mean, there's great opportunity in Atlanta right now. Why? Because there's a lot of businesses moving there. There's people moving there. People need houses. So these are all the things I'm looking at. But yeah, I think the stock market is very frothy right now. And I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a financial expert, but I do see a lot of people putting a little more money into real estate and still being very conservative. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to your point, it's something you can control, right? Like being the sniper, you can pick the right market where you see growth, where you see jobs coming, and everything else. You invest broadly. No offense to anyone on here, but Tim Cook's not going to call you from Apple and ask you what you think the next thing you should do to his company, right? So you have much less control. You're just along for the ride, where you can select where you want to invest and park your money in these kind of assets.
Yeah, and we only have maybe 2 to 3 really solid developers and sponsors we work with. And, a lot of people may say, well, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Well, I'll be honest with you, those guys have gotten us through the good times and now the bad. So those are going to be the guys we kind of want to work with first. And then, obviously we look at other businesses that are out there. But, when you got 2 or 3 or 4 really good racehorses that are winning your races or getting you in the top 3, you want to stick with those folks.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've certainly found, most of the apartments we do are in the suburban markets, in good growing areas, and those are some of the fundamentals we look for. But they've performed extremely well during this period, and the heart of the downtown market is not a market that we've really typically gone after, and those are the ones that were probably a little bit harder hit. So we've found the kind of thing that works for us, and again, focus rather than just trying to hit anything and everything. So
yeah, and the fundamentals and the foundations, I think, Rich, are really important. Fairfax County, Virginia, we're looking at a deal. We got universities, we got the government, we got Amazon, that's headquarters too. So it's like to Bill's point, we are concerned and worried about the economy and certain aspects of it. But when you look at the foundations and the fundamentals, and you have that sniper scope looking at it, vice the shotgun approach, I think gives you a little more confidence that you can sustain it. And maybe you get a hit to the jaw, but you're not going to fall down and be knocked out. You're going to get up or move forward, even though that's happened.
Right.
It allows you to develop a certain expertise, right? And a few target markets, you can go really deep versus you can't be an expert in, a smaller shop, you can't 20 some markets at once, right? You're kind of scattered. So you pick a few that you really know well and can get on the inside track, and it's huge.
Yeah, I agree.
So John, nobody has a crystal ball, but what does the future look like for you? Look down the road, a number of years. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to stay in this area maybe for another 10 to 15 years, keep, a nice flow of projects coming in, maybe continue to grow a bit with some new employees and some new team members, just have a nice, consistent and balanced portfolio of projects that we're doing and that are finishing, paying out, and some that are coming back in, and managing maybe some assets that have the potential of being longer term holds. We're typically a development, new construction business. We like those higher yields, but it's nice to see that we're looking at some new strategies now that kind of implement some long-term hold strategies as well. But yeah, I kind of like where we're at. I like the opportunities that I see on the horizon. I like the fact that we got some nice properties that once they finish are going to pay some nice dividends to the business. And as long as it's consistent, comfortable, we're not scaling too large, we're not trying to do too much or bite more than we can chew. I like what we're doing. I mean, everybody asking me, what's your goals? What do you want to be in 2, 3, 5? I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, have fun, meet wonderful people, build relationships, and continue to go down the path the Lord selected for me.
So you mean the 5-year plan? You don't think that'll necessarily, be there in 5 years? Actually, the next week plan has already changed on me.
The tomorrow plan changes.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I come to the office every day, Rich, and I have these things I want to do. And at the end of the day, I look at that list and say, man, I don't even know if I got one of those things done.
Right.
Yeah. So fun stuff.
Well, John, I know you mentioned the investor portal. Is there something else you've recently implemented in your business that's really helped you grow?
Yeah, I brought on a wicked smart employee that is just really running like you can't believe. He's been on board over 6 months, and he is just having a blast, and we're having a blast, and he's doing great. I'm just really so happy with the fact that we brought someone on that's embraced what we're doing, and he likes what we're doing. He's growing with us, and I think he sees the bright horizon we have and wants to be part of that. And my philosophy has always been that if you take care of your people, you take care of those people you work with, and you build those relationships, money will come. Money's part of it. It's not the end all be all. Yeah, it's important to make money, but at the same time, you build more and more of those relationships. So I'm enjoying watching our employee Dave just kind of run with things. He's pretty much the Juniper Square guy. He's doing our portal, and he is just knocking it out of the park, and he's enjoying it. When you have an employee that's on board, I don't even call him an employee. He's part of the team. When you got somebody who's on board as a team member and is just doing what they're doing and having fun and really sharing with me, I love working with you guys. I like what I'm doing. I like the fact that I can be transparent and candid with you. So that, I think, is a reflection on our culture as a business to say we're doing what's right because we're attracting talent, we're attracting people, and they're performing to the best of their ability. So what else could you ask for?
Right. Absolutely.
Excellent. John, what advice would you give somebody who's thinking about changing the path that they're on right now to a new path?
Yeah, I would say don't jump on that new path too quick. If that path you're on now is taking care of you and your family, you got to think about the roof over your head, your bills that are coming in. I would say stay with that path, but as you learn about the new path, get smart on it as best as you can, and sit down and take it from the bottom and work your way up on the pyramid. Because you got this great idea that I want to be in real estate. Well, okay, what does that mean? There's a lot of things in real estate you can do. So what are you attracted to? Well, I'm attracted to being in passive investment. Okay, that's a specific. What do you want to do in passive investment? Do you want to be an investor? Do you want to have a business? Do you want to bring people in with you? Do you want to invest together? So as you start to look at that, take your legal pad and write down some of the things you need to think about. And then just have the right resources around you. I love Robert Kiyosaki. I think everybody does. Rich Dad, Poor Dad lays out a really nice framework for the trusted agents you need to have around you. Your CPA, your attorney, your financial advisor, your broker, your securities attorney, all these people that are going to keep you out of trouble as well as make you succeed. So you got to know who to have on your path. But I think that's a great question, Rich. I think people jump before they think, and eventually you could plan. Eventually you got to hit the go button, but before you actually jump on that new path, make sure you got that confidence that, hey, I'm going to do this. It may be a little tough at first, but I know there's a long-term road there.
It takes time to build all the relationship. Not only just the knowledge part, like you said, you don't want to get, and some of us have that, bent, the analysis paralysis almost. You have to learn everything about a subject to be an subject matter expert in it. But at some point, like you said, you have to hit the go button. But on the other hand, at the same time, you need to start developing all the, because, it's not in our case, it's not a real estate business. It's a relationship business, right? All the stuff that comes to you is through relationships, either investors, brokers, property management. It all has, there's inner workings with all of them. And it takes time to build that, to get credibility in the market.
I totally agree with you 100%. And, I had the luxury and opportunity and blessing actually to be able to do it part-time for 4 years while I was still in the Navy, and had the security of a stable salary every 2 weeks for 4 or 5 years while I got this business up and running. And when I took that step off the plank there, when I retired, it was a little bit nervous at first, but the ice hasn't broken yet, knock on wood. But yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Bill. And just like when I look at a deal, you're never going to eliminate risk, mitigate it. You'll try to make sure you're aware of it and plan for it. But eventually, if the reward outweighs the risk and you're comfortable with it and you've identified it and you communicate it, then, you can feel confident that you can go ahead. If it's not, and you don't feel comfortable with it, then you just say, hey, it's not a good deal for me. It's not going to be something that's got the best benefits and the best things in mind for my investors, first and foremost. So.
Right. Actually, Kiyosaki talks exactly about that. Learn to manage risk.
Yeah.
And that's what we do for our investors. We manage risk to generate a return for our investors and really, do good for others as well. I mean, we, in our apartments, our goal as well is return money and generate income for our investors, returns, is to leave the place better than we found it. And, obviously when you're doing new development projects, you're taking something that was, whatever it was before and turn it into, a brand new, very, very functional building or whatever. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And we're all a team, right? Everybody wants to be successful. The investors want to be successful. They want us to be successful. We want our sponsor to be successful. So everybody's on the same team. We all want everybody to succeed. There's not an individual mentality that, I just want to do well. I don't care about anybody else. So.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, John, what's the best way for listeners to be able to reach out and learn more about JID Investments and what projects you're working on? And
yeah, so we have a website. It's just JIDinvestments.com. If you want to add that to your show notes, or feel free to share that. I'm also on LinkedIn. We have a JID Investments LinkedIn page. We're on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel on JID Investments. And we'd love to share what we're doing on our portal. So there's some things we're working on now to give demonstrations to show kind of how it looks if you sign up for our portal. So, and my email is just my first initial, John, and it's J Rubino, all one, at JIDinvestments.com. So if you want to reach out to me or have questions or just need some help with stuff, I'm available anytime. I'm always happy to give back and share and talk and communicate. But yeah, those are probably the best places to find me, Bill.
Great. Well, John, we really appreciate you being on the Road Less Traveled show today. Appreciate all your insights and wish you continued success.
Thank you, gentlemen. The same to you. And it was an honor and pleasure. And I'd love to come back anytime.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, John. And again, thank you for being on. We also want to thank our audience for listening. We really appreciate you tuning in. And please give us a 5-star rating so we can continue bringing you more great content like the show we just had with John. So thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
And remember, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.